That's exactly what one man tried to do to me. You know what I mean? With every lens catching it. Yeah, that happened, so don't blink. I live on Oak Street, where porches look friendly and the grass keeps secrets. Where an old woman named Agnes stares like she paid for the sidewalk, and I'm walking on it for free. Where my boy Eli waits for the bus with a comic book and a straw of orange juice he never remembers to finish. Where I tie my hair, zip my vest, ripped along the shoulder from a move I learned years back, and whisper the same promise to myself every morning: stay calm, stay kind, come home. Simple. Right. Let me back up a sec. That morning was ordinary in the way a storm is ordinary when it's still a blue sky. I kissed Eli's head, told him I'd be back before he knew it, and headed for a bottle of water at the corner store. The bell jingled, fluorescent lights hummed, and I felt eyes. The clerk Janet's thin smile, a guy in a cap pretending to read magazines. And then Officer Jack Morgan leaning in the doorway like the place belonged to him. "Morning," he said, voice soft but sharpened. "What brings you here so early?" I said water, work. The truth in 2 words. He looked me up and down like I was a checklist. "Mind if I take a look in that purse?" "Routine," he said. The air felt colder though the sun was coming up. He followed, slow, boots heavy like punctuation. There was another officer nearby, Brett Dalton, younger, quiet. The kind of touch that dares you to react, so he can say you started it. I warned him, soft voice, steady eyes, "Don't." And he laughed like rules didn't apply. Like nothing would ever touch him. Then came the choke. Fast, from behind. That old, dirty move sworn off in every policy memo people only pretend to read. His forearm sealed my breath and his words were hot in my ear, resisting arrest. Though I wasn't arrested and hadn't resisted a thing but him, years of training snapped into place, hands to wrists, twist, step, angle, gravity, balance. My world narrowed to bone and breath and space. I broke his grip without breaking him, because restraint is a choice and I still believe in it. He swung. I slipped, swept his knee. He hit concrete. Brett lurched and I checked him, controlled, precise, not to humiliate, just to live. That's it, that's all. "Hey, I'm recording." A teenager's voice cut through. "Tyson." Fearless in the way only kids who know the truth are fearless. And suddenly the park was full of glass eyes, screens catching everything, the ugly, the clean. Headlines learning my name. My phone a storm of unknown numbers, some blessings, some venom. You know the kind. And in between those pings came a knock. Marjorie from down the block with steady hands and a cane that could command silence. "You are not alone," she said. Then a call from a lawyer named Scott who sounded like someone who has seen too much and still believes in the next right thing. And then a message that chilled me. "We know where you live." Yeah. TV hits with Jack painting himself as the terrified guardian who barely survived the monster on Oak Street. I could feel the spin tighten around my name like a rope. And for a beat, I wondered if the machine would grind me down the way it grinds so many. And that's when the twist walked in at 2 a.m., small frame, ball cap pulled low, eyes clear. "I'm Officer Lisa Monroe," she said, voice shaking and steel at the same time. She set a battered envelope on Scott's desk, internal affairs files, real ones. The kind that don't make it to press releases, complaints, dates, bruises, signatures, a pattern as familiar as a bruise that won't fade. Pages with Morgan and Dalton on them and a chief's initials closing doors before anyone asked a question. It wasn't just my day in the park. It was years. FBI badges flashed in the station lobby by sunrise. Boxes sealed, servers mirrored, body cams pulled. The whole room suddenly very quiet. And in a gray interview room, a woman named Agent McMillan queued up Tyson's raw footage start to finish without a cut. We watched it together, no sound bites. No jump edits, just the thing itself. After, she spoke like a person careful with the weight of words. "Miss Brooks, you're free to go, stay available." Broadcast, and I walked in with my vest mended but still torn along the shoulder like a reminder. The prosecution talked about force and bones and time. The defense said decorated and dangerous in the same breath as my name. Tyson held his phone like a torch and played the truth. Lisa took the stand and did what so many say they will do someday. She told it, neat as a list, dates, cases, closures that never should have closed. Dark tunnel, guilty on all counts, abuse of power, falsifying evidence, a hate crime enhancement that landed like a gavel in a cathedral. And the room erupted, not triumphant, not cruel, just relieved in a way that made my knees weak. And when Jack shouted about politics while deputies held him and Brett whispered, "I'm sorry," I believed both things at once. That personal choices matter and systems teach people what they can get away with. And I cried too, quietly. Because my boy was safe that night, and a lot of mothers don't get that sentence. You think the credits roll there, but life doesn't do credits. It does Mondays, it does town halls. It does neighbors deciding if they'll keep their eyes on the ground or raise their hands. And on a hot night in a crowded chamber, the council voted, by one thin, brave vote, to make Marcus Haley the first black chief in our town's history. He didn't promise miracles, just sunlight and doors open and an ear that wouldn't flinch when the truth hurt. And then the craziest thing happened. People started showing up, civilians on review boards, kids at listening sessions, parents with stories. Mrs. Tran brought egg rolls to meetings that ran long. Mr. Alvarez set up chairs. Tyson filmed not just the pain but the healing. Lisa trained rookies on how to say, "I was wrong," without the ceiling falling in, and I taught de-escalation to teens who'd only ever seen force. Eli found a friend named Jonah, and they drew a logo for Unity on Oak, little handprints in paint, all colors, overlapping like a promise. We planted a tree and tied ribbons, red for struggle, blue for hope, green for growth, gold for justice. And I swear I could feel the roots catch. The story traveled, TV bites, think pieces, a forum in D.C., where a Navy SEAL I once served under said the quiet part loud, that courage has no color. And towns I'll never visit started sending notes. How'd you do it? Did it stick? Can we borrow your playbook? I told them the only true thing I know, that we talked until our throats hurt. We forgave without forgetting. We wrote the rules down on paper and then on our daily lives. And when it got hard, and it did, we kept showing up. That's it. That's all. So here's where you expect the neat bow. There are also afternoons when the park fills with music from 3 languages at once, and the same kids who once stared across a line now trade shoes and dance. And I think maybe, just maybe, the country is learning a step it forgot, something like trust with a backbeat. I'll leave you on a curb where this all began. Warm pavement, phones up, breath tight, and ask you the only question that matters. If it were your street, your kid, your name in someone else's mouth, would you film? Would you speak? Would you stand in the space between what's right and what's easy? Because the truth is a muscle. It gets stronger when we use it, and justice, when it arrives, never travels alone. What does justice look like where you live? Tell me if you've ever seen a crowd change a story on the spot, or if you think I went too far or not far enough, and say it honest. Because the next chapter isn't mine alone, it's ours, and it starts in the comments tonight.